I'm fine. I can handle it from here. You didn't have to walk me all the way in. This is awkward. I gotta ask my jailers if we're live. So is it okay if I broadcast, jailer? I'm not gonna get solitary again, am I? This is so embarrassing. Everyone's seeing me in my jail cell. But it's not bad. I got a nice toilet back there and a seat and this little desk to work at. Are we good to go? All right. Well, like I said, this is kind of awkward. I'm James Leichter, president of Aptora, broadcasting from the Aptora Correctional Facility here in Lenexa, Kansas. People have been asking, what happened to James? Did he sell the company? Did he retire? Does he still work there? We don't see him anymore. We don't hear from him. Well, this is the reason. I thought I'd let you know this is where I've been. Actually, the chief operating officer here at Aptora put me in this jail cell until Total Office Manager Next Generation gets finished, and I can't come out until we're done. So that is why we did all this for fun. I'm not really in jail, not anymore. Those charges were dropped. Misunderstanding completely. But we thought it'd be fun to broadcast from our jail cell today and show you some Total Office Manager Next Generation, give you an update on things, show you how the AR side of things work, security, some things like that. And I'm not really in jail. I can get out anytime I want. But we have been working extremely hard on the program, and all of us have been focused on it like a laser. All right, so with no further ado, but before I log in, let me explain what I'm looking at right here. So here I am looking at the login screen. This looks a lot different than what you're used to in Total Office Manager. The security system is a completely separate software program. Security is handled all through a central place, so there's a central login. One program's handling all security preferences, settings, things like that. Once I log in, I have access to everything that I'm supposed to have access to and nothing else. I'll just click log in here, and there I am. Now, before we talk about Total Office Manager, let me go look at my profile, and I'll show you around. This is what we call the Aptora Identity Server. This is what you will be looking at eventually when you're using the software program. And we're calling the entire system Aptora 365, Aptora 360. The whole system is called Aptora 360. Total Office Manager Next Generation is part of that. The mobile app is part of that ecosystem. Here is the so-called identity server. This is where you set up your users, their profile. You can set up security. You can create two-factor authentication, which I just hate. I know I'm not supposed to hate it, but I haven't set mine up because I just don't like it. But you can have two-factor authentication. You can use a third-party app, the Microsoft app, for third-party or for the two-factor authentication. You have a lot of control over what people can do, what they can see, and you also know what's going on as the admin. If I click into my profile, for example, I can see my particular profile, which I can make changes to. I can go into a profile, change security, change access. I have a lot of control. Let's flip back over to Aptora 360. So here we are. We are looking at what many of you are used to calling Total Office Manager, but this is the Total Office Manager Next Generation inside the suite of products Aptora 360. But it's a lot like what you're used to. In fact, the workflow navigator is just like what you're used to. If I click banking and I click on, say, chart of accounts, then I'm looking at our chart of accounts. Same chart of accounts that you have now. Same features, basically, same workflow. Creating a chart of accounts hasn't really changed. The list is a little bit different. If you notice, the list has Excel-like filters at the top where you can sort, you can add or subtract columns. You can do that now, but it's an extra click or two. Now it's just right at your fingertips. You can create filters, apply filters just like you're used to in Microsoft Excel. You can set your column positions. You can lock your columns. You can add or subtract the columns, as I said. And the nice thing is, once you apply all of those settings, you add or subtract columns, rearrange columns, apply filters, you can save all of that with a name. And that's much like what you're used to now with your user filters, your global filters. You're probably used to the user filters in Total Office Manager. It works the same way, but it gives you actually a lot more control because now you're able to establish the columns, the order of columns, the width, the sorting, the filtering, all the various attributes of that list can be given a name. So you could have list view 1, list view 2, list view 3, and switch between all of those. Let's go back home. I can right-click, open the program up in a new tab. So here I have it running twice. And many of you are used to that now, where you're able to run multiple instances of the program, have the same form open multiple times. You can do the same thing. The customer menu looks a little bit different, but they're the same underneath that. So underneath the new look, you have the same menu options, such as creating new and lists and so forth. So why don't we go to the customer job list, open that. And I will scroll down here towards the bottom. You can see now that we can control how many items per page. We can go from page 1 to page 2 to page 3. It's a lot faster, performs faster, uses fewer resources. So same thing you're used to. Let's double click on a customer. We open the customer and at first it looks a little bit different, but all the labels are the same. Everything is what you're already used to. You can see that the customer name label right up here, that's the same label in Total Office Manager. The bill to address, the work address, the pronounced, the first name, company name, last name, DBA, all of that the same. It's all the same. We also have the contacts tab, which you're used to, the additional info, which you're used to. It's all the same fields, payment info, job info, tax info, pretty much identical. Just looks a little different because it's being presented in a new way. Let's go to the payment info and talk about that real quick. We have created a profile system for credit cards where you are able to create profiles for your customers. You can put in multiple credit cards into that profile. All of the credit card information is stored off-site with the credit card processor. There will be no credit card numbers in your database. Even though they are currently encrypted, it's not considered good practice to have that information even encrypted. So we have all of that information saved off-site. The minute you enter the credit card number, it is then moved off-site and it's no longer part of the database or your system at all. So security, don't have to worry about that at all. It's all off-site. So that's one change you'll see in here, but it does function the same way that you're already used to. Now, if I want to go back to the home page, I can just click up here, or I can just, from this form, I can open something else up like the bills list or the enter bill for received items. I'm going to click there, go home. Your navigator works just like what you're used to now. If you go to, say, customers, and you want to add a work order, just click on that here. And the work order looks the same. For the most part, it is the same. A little bit different presentation, but all of the same fields. The fields are all there. They're labeled with the same words, as far as I know. If we catch a word that's not the same, we'll change it so it is the same. I think every label, every field is identical. If I click the General tab, you'll notice everything you're used to is there. Notes, additional info, equipment. By the way, when you do type in notes, for example, you have instant spell check. The spell check is instantly doing its thing, so you don't have to click a button to get a spell check. Payment information, items, assets, everything you're used to. One big difference in the program that really helps with stability and performance is the idea of creating microservices. We created microservices so that we would be able to separate large portions of the software into individual programs. I'll give you an example. If I click here, I'll see apps, Payroll Center, Report Center, Sales Opportunity, the Sales Opportunity Manager, the Schedule Board. Those are all separate apps. You will never notice that they're separate apps because they use the same database. They are all calling on the same security preferences, things like that. But why run the payroll system when you don't need the payroll system? Why run the Sales Opportunity Manager, the Report Center, etc., if you don't need it? Let me show you. Let's go into the Report Center. And it's opening up a whole new app. And you'll notice that it says, hey, Aptora Reports is requesting your permission. You have different settings here. And I'm okay with all that. Yes, allow. It got permission from me to load all of this information. So what am I looking at? I'm looking at the Report Center. Each of these apps would have their own dashboard. This dashboard is not currently populating with real information. It's a placeholder, but hopefully when you get it, each app will have its own dashboard that can be customized by user. So here we are in the Report Center, and it is running independently of the rest of the program. I could give you permission, for example, to use the Report Center, but not the Sales Opportunity Manager. And like I said, we're not loading those resources until they're needed. Let's take a look at a report. Let's go to, say, accounting, income statement. The income statement report options pop up like you're used to. Looks a little bit different because it's not a small window, but all of the same features and preferences are there. So you can select, for example, this year, this month. I'll do this year, and good enough, I'll hit preview. And now the reports load not all at once, like currently Total Office Manager waits for the entire report to load before it shows it to you. Now we are loading the report one page at a time. So you should be able to interact with your reports a lot quicker because we are allowing interaction with the report before the entire report is loaded. Couldn't really see that here because it's only 3 pages, but the income statement looks just like what you're used to. It's the same layout, same everything. Unlike Total Office Manager, present Total Office Manager, you can go back and change your options and hit refresh without closing and rerunning the report. So if you want to hit refresh right here, you will get the latest and greatest information. You will also be able to change any of the options and hit refresh. You don't have to run the report again. You have the ability to export the report like you're used to, PDF, Excel, delimited files, things like that. You have drill down, just like you're used to. One of the most important points that we've been wanting to make with these webinars, these Aptora 360 reveals, is that we did not take shortcuts. When we created the Total Office Manager Next Generation program, we did not leave a lot of things out in order to make the program easier to rewrite or cheaper to rewrite. We rewrote the entire program. There are some minor differences. There's a lot of improvements. There really aren't any steps backwards that I'm aware of. It might be something that people point out to me in the future and we'll go back and address those things, but there are no steps backwards. It's only a step forward with this software. We wanted to recreate it, give you what we have now, what you have now, and then add to that things like this that we couldn't do before. All right, so that's the Report Center. Let me show you, let's go to, I'm going to go to the invoice list. And let's just open up, I'll just randomly open a list or an invoice. I was trying to think of one that I was familiar with that had cool stuff on it, but we'll just open this one up and see what happens. One thing that we did with the invoices that we could not do before is allow you to rearrange the order of the items. So now you can go down here to your items list and rearrange those. When you know it, I picked one item. Or I picked one with just one item. Why don't we grab another one and grab one more like that. So I have 3 items. Now I can demonstrate how you would grab one item and just move it to the top, or take that top item, move it to the bottom. A pretty minor thing maybe. If you've ever needed to do that though, you're thinking, awesome, they finally addressed that, because that was something that we just couldn't do using the older technology. Other than minor changes like that, minor improvements, it is the same invoice. It functions the same. We do have fields hidden so that they can remain hidden and out of your way unless you need them. We try to only reveal the fields that you absolutely need when you go into a bill or you go into an invoice. We're trying to hide things that most people would not need access to and let you click the little arrow to reveal those if in fact you need them. We have the same shortcuts that you're used to. You right click. You have the same menu. And when I say the same, I don't mean it's nearly the same. I mean, it's the exact same menu right there. We've also improved the memorized transaction capability in the program. It has been completely revamped. Now we offer the ability to more easily manage memorized transactions. You can also memorize other things, not just transactions. We'll talk more about that later, but the memorized transaction system was completely rethought, re-engineered, redesigned. It does pretty much what it does now, but a lot more. It's a lot more flexible, a lot more powerful. One neat thing about the system is that it allows the software to run a process while you go on and do other work. So the memorized transactions system actually does more than memorized transactions. It's an entire service that's running in the background. And you could process payroll, for example, and go on and start entering invoices or timesheets or whatever, and payroll will process in the background. You could process a large report or a series of reports, and the system will run those reports. It'll handle those transactions and processes while you go on to some other screen and continue to do your work. As you know, the current program makes you wait. You'll see an hourglass or a progress bar, and you'll have to wait till that's finished, but you don't have to do that anymore. That's all running in the background as a service, and we have big plans for that so that you can do more things with it in the future. Probably the most popular feature request we've had is this one here. This is the text messaging system, completely integrated. It's not a program like Aptora Teams that has to be run and managed separately. In here, you can watch chat messages that are coming in and out via text messages with your customers, with your employees. You will be able to have multiple text phone numbers that you'll be able to switch from at the top. So I only have one phone number here, so that's not present. But this would allow me to manage multiple phone numbers. You could have a phone number on your website that says text us, a different phone number on your truck that says text us, different phone numbers for marketing purposes, and you'll be able to manage all of those incoming and outgoing text messages here. You'll even be able to attach things like emojis, but also we've been working on the ability to attach things like a PDF and images and things like that. So that's been much improved, and we're looking forward to releasing that to everybody. Unsaved changes? No. Another thing that we have changed that, I didn't even read my own message box. I said no too fast. Leave this page? Yes. You know, the trouble with those message boxes is you get them enough, you quit reading them, right? You just click the button just to get rid of it. and you forget the fact that it might have had something really important to say. Okay, what I wanted to show you, let me grab this from my other monitor. You remember, of course, the yellow screen, right? These yellow screens that you see here. The yellow screen in Total Office Manager comes up when we have an error that we did not anticipate, we weren't expecting. So we have this catch-all error handling that produces what we call the yellow screen because of that yellow background at the top. That catches the error, but the problem is you don't really have any option except to hit close. You just have to close the application. And sometimes, you'll lose your work, or you could lose your work if you're closing the application while you were in the middle of doing something. So rather than get that yellow screen, which does close the application, we've completely redone that process. And let me show you how that might work. If I were to, let's go into, why don't I do, I'll do an employee list. So let's open up our employee list right there. And let's pick an employee. I'll pick me, I'm George Washington in here. All right, so let's put in a fax number. Put in 913 and 492 9933. All right, so I got a fax number in there and I hit save and close. Now, what I want to demonstrate for you is the alternative to the yellow screen. When I hit save and close, I just get this error message. It says there was an error in the application. Error information has been logged for troubleshooting the issue. So we have logged everything we need to know about the error. And we will instantly see that information. And usually the fix is quick. So that's what you're going to get now instead of the yellow screen, that one there, where you have to click the close button, which closes the application, not just the form, it closes the application. Now, when you see that, you're just going to get the error and you'll have a little reload down here. You click the reload button and it reloads the page. And worst case scenario is you lose that one piece of information. You'll notice the fax number is no longer there. Now, you might look down here at the version number. Our version number's got a lot longer. That version number, I don't know how well you can see it. I know it's really small, but it says V20240807, which is today's date, .4, which could mean that there have been 4 updates today. And there actually have. That's pretty unusual, but we're in the process of heavy development and doing lots of work on it. So that's not totally unusual at this stage. But that tells me there was an update today, and I'm on the 4th update for the day. So I'll be able to see that version number and know if the version number changes, then maybe they fixed my bug. I'm going to go back home and let's go to our dashboard and open up our schedule board. Now, this takes a moment to run for the first time because it is opening up a completely new app. So here I am in the schedule board. It's just like the schedule board you're used to. The difference, though, is this is using a lot less resources than the current one, and it's running in its own memory space. So it is using much less resources, and those resources are only loaded when needed, and they are released as soon as they are not needed. But I wanted you to see that we have the same features. We have the map feature, for example, here, and we have the same profiles that you're used to. They're just up here now. We have the same lists that we have now: work orders, display, GPS, employees, department selection, that overrides your profile, quick filter, same thing. So you're not going to have to learn new software, not going to have to learn a new schedule board. Now, there is one big change to this schedule board. One big change you're going to like. There's no longer the concept of refreshing the schedule board. You don't have to right-click and hit refresh. You don't have to set your refresh to happen every 30 seconds or whatever. You might be familiar with it, maybe not. Point I wanted to make is this refreshes instantly. Whenever someone makes a change anywhere on the network, anybody that's logged in, I would see that change instantly. And what's really nice is only that change happens. I won't see the entire board close and reopen, or it won't refresh and I'm waiting around for it to refresh and reload. It doesn't work like that. It only refreshes, if you will, the thing that changed. So anyone that makes a change to a work order, you will see it instantly change right in front of you, instantly, right at that moment. And the entire board stays the same. It doesn't reload again. It's smart enough to know that of all the things you're looking at, like maybe this Bobby Riley over here, or Riley Bab, whatever that guy's name is smart enough to know that the spelling changed, and that's all it changes. It just changes what it has to, and it's basically instant. So that's running in its own service. I can go ahead and leave it running and won't bother anything. All right. Why don't I show you let's go back to the customer list, because this is where people spend a lot of their time, in the customer list. If I click the three little dots, you can see that I'm able to lock positions. I'm able to add or subtract columns like we're used to now. I can do sorting and all those things. But what's different is now I can give all of that a name. Once I've rearranged these columns, resized them, applied all of those changes, every bit of them, I can give those a name. And you might be thinking, well, that's no big deal. You can do that in Total Office Manager right now. But you can and can't. It doesn't, when you save a user filter or when you make changes to your list and you close it and reopen it, it doesn't remember, your user filters don't remember the sorting. They don't remember the column width. They don't remember what columns were there and not there. So the user filter feature has gotten a lot more capable, because not only does it remember your filtering criteria, but it also remembers the entire layout of the list, and you can have as many of those as you want. You might notice there's a Add Customer Job button up here, but don't worry, you can still right-click, and you have all the same options. We just added a button here because it is so common to add a customer here. We thought it was a little easier than having you right-click and go to the menu. That saves you one click. I just noticed that I have a text message that came in here. So let's click. You notice the text message 1 right there. That tells me a text came in. Now, this could be a coworker of mine. This could be a potential customer who's on our website. All right, there we go. I mean, you have to expect glitches transmitting from a jail cell. The walls are really thick here, you know, and this stainless steel table is absorbing all of the network activity. All right, so when the audio got cut off, we were talking about text messages, and here's the text message that came in. And what does it say? It says, employee is fixed. Go ahead and try to save. Update is released. All right, so remember earlier I went into the employee and I tried to save, and we got an error message that could have been potentially a yellow screen today in our current program, and you might have had to close the entire application. Not on every error. Of course, I mean just unanticipated errors, and there are plenty of those that happen. What we saw was the program remained stable. The program gave us the error message, but it let us remain in the software because it isolated that error and didn't cause the rest of the program to crash. So one of my coworkers has texted me that it's fixed. So one of our developers saw that, got it fixed. He probably read the error log, and that's all he had to do. So let's go back to the employee list, and that is under company. Remember, I'm not running the payroll system, so the menu is a little different than it was. Under company, under lists, we have employees. And we'll open up the... Oh, I got my chat. I got my chat opened. I'm going to leave that chat opened. And then I'm going to open up the list in another tab. That way I can keep it going. All right, let's double click on George Washington. That's the person we were at before. And there's the phone number that we attempted to type in. And I'll just make another change real quick too. And we'll hit save and close. And it was happy. Now you'll notice down here at the bottom, again, it's so small, you may have trouble reading it, but the version number down here says 20240807. That was the same, .5. And earlier it was .4, the fourth release of the day. Well, we've released 5 today. Now, again, we probably aren't going to be releasing the software that quickly, but what I wanted to show you is that while I'm actually using the software, I encounter a bug. Programming instantly sees the information about it. They have all the information they need, almost always. They almost always have the information they need to contend with the bug. And if they need to, they can push an update out right in front of me, right while I'm working on it. I could be live broadcasting to all of you, and the software updated itself behind the scenes. We don't plan to do that unless it's necessary, but it's a capability that we built into the program. Another thing about the software that has improved stabilization, made it more stable, reliable, in addition to the yellow screens, and if you can focus in on me real quick, you guys, I am disconnected from the internet. So right now you're seeing me because you're connected to my monitor. I'm not connecting to this meeting through the internet. So I'm off, and I've got an icon that says that I'm off the internet, and you can see the program is still running. And I plug back in, and there's a quick little delay while it refreshed itself, and voila, we're back. We're back online. I double click, open an employee. You see me navigate around just to show you it's not hocus pocus. Go make an estimate, go to the estimate list, whatever. So we're live, we're back in the program. It's running like it was before. That is so terrific because currently, if you are in the hosted environment and you lose your connection to the internet for a microsecond, and I do mean a microsecond, I mean a fraction of a second, it really doesn't matter how much of a fraction it is, you'll most likely disconnect from the system. Now, you probably have noticed that when you reconnect, the software is waiting for you. That means that the software didn't disconnect you. That means your internet disconnected you. But minor microsecond interruptions in internet connections is common. And that's what causes you to disconnect if you're hosted. Again, you reconnect quickly, but it's an inconvenience. We've eliminated that almost certainly because you saw I can disconnect from the internet. The program is still running. And when I come back, it's happy. It just takes off where it left. All right. So I think everybody will appreciate that. No doubt about it. Stability has improved a lot. Let's go back to the App Center and click Payroll. I'll open up Payroll. Now, again, it opened up a completely new application. You'll notice my workflow navigator is now on the employees. My menu is changed. If I come up to process payroll, set up payroll tools, things are a little different because I'm in the payroll system. Here we have the ability to create paychecks, process payroll, etc., but it runs as a completely different system. As I mentioned before, if we were to start running our paychecks, processing paychecks, we would get a progress bar, and who knows, it might take 30 minutes to run payroll, but it doesn't matter because we can navigate away from the page. We can close the page, in fact. We don't even have to have the page opening. Once payroll begins, that process will take care of itself. We can close down the program. We can navigate to another page. We don't even have to leave it opened, and when payroll is finished, we just go there and deal with it. But no longer do you have to sit around and wait for these processes to run. They run in the background. Now, if I go to the Sales Opportunity Manager, we're going to be opening up that app. Again, a completely separate app, but you would never know it. We're now in the CRM part of the software. You can think of Total Office Manager, the accounting payroll. You can think of that as ERP software. You can think of the Sales Opportunity Manager as CRM software. And here I am in the CRM. So what do we have in here? We have dashboards. We have our sales opportunity list. We have related reports. We have the various lists to manage, like probabilities, products, profile questions, etc. And we have tools that are related to this, such as the marketing list generator. Let's double click on one of these leads, and you can see that it's pretty much the same. Not pretty much, it is the same, except it's just laid out slightly different, but all the same controls are there. And to my knowledge, they're all called the same thing. I say to my knowledge because we've worked really hard to tell everybody, make sure you call it the same thing. If we do change something, it will be for a good reason. But pretty much everything remains the same, right down to the labeling. You can see the details, just like what you're used to, profile and appointments, qualifiers, whatever you set up. You'll also notice that each of these pages have an audit trail right here. If I were to click that, what you're looking at is an audit trail just for this form. So in addition to having the audit trail, which is right there, audit trail, in addition to having the audit trail that you're already used to, each of these forms will have their own audit trail. And what that allows us to do is give you a field by field list of all changes. If somebody changes an email address or a last name, whatever, then we'll keep track of all of those changes on a field by field, user by user, form by form basis. Many of you won't need that kind of robust audit trail, that kind of information. Maybe you don't need those details, but they can be really handy whenever you want to find out, like, who changed the email address, who changed the stage, who changed the company name, etc. Rather than go to the audit trail and see that that company record had an edit, and maybe you know who and when and all that. Well, now you can drill down into that and find out exactly what fields were changed, what information was added or removed or edited. Speaking of edited, one thing that people don't like about Total Office Manager, and there's almost nothing they don't like about it, right? Because it's so perfect. Let me log into my other one. One of the things they asked us to change over the years is this. It's easier just to show it to you. All right, let's go to the customer list and open a customer. Now, when you open a record, a customer, vendor, an item, payroll item, an inventory item, whatever, when you open it and look at it, you can only do that when you have edit permissions. So in other words, and maybe many of you haven't really thought about this, which is good. You haven't had a problem with it. But there are people that will say, I want my coworkers to be able to go into this record and look at the information, go from tab to tab and look at it. I just don't want them to be able to go in here and mess stuff up. They could mess stuff up and they'll hit save and close, and we'll never get that information back. So I want people to be able to go in here and look at the info, but not edit the info. Well, you can't do that. I have to give you permission to edit this form in order to let you see the form. But in Aptora 360's suite of applications, and Total Office Manager Next Generation is no exception, I can allow you to come into this record and look at all of the information, but not edit the information. So how did we do that? Well, let's open up another instance of the program so I can keep that going. Let's go to, I opened up another instance of payroll. All right, here I am. let's go to the user security area and open that. And we'll pick a user. And maybe that's George Washington, first president of the United States of America, George. All right, so I'm George Washington here. Here's my permissions. You can see it's kind of like what you're used to already, but now you'll notice when you click, say, the customer section, you have a view, but you also have an edit. So just because they can view doesn't mean they necessarily can edit. So on the AIA payment application list, or for AIA payment applications, I might not want you editing. I may not want you voiding or deleting, but I might want you to be able to go in and look at them. And that's all I have to do is set it there. So that's completely new for the software, the ability to go into a record and not just a list, but go into a record like a customer or an item or a bill or whatever, and allow people to view everything, but they can't change it. And the fields are uneditable, by the way. It's not that we just don't allow them to save their changes. They can't change anything. It's just read only at that point. So that's a big change in the software. Let's go back to payroll. I got payroll running. It's amazing that you can run the program so many times and run all these different systems, but I get lost pretty easy as to where I was. Another big feature request people made was in the timesheets. If I come here to timesheets, time tracking, you'll notice it's a bit different. Let's pick an employee. Just pick someone randomly. I'll load all their timesheets if they have any. I might have picked somebody with a lot of payroll information. But now you have the ability to go in and see a list of timesheet entries for that employee. I did pick a busy one. You have the ability to enter multiple days at once. And unlike current Total Office Manager, you have a list that you can go to and you can edit any of those. So here I'm actually looking at a list. It doesn't really look like a list though, does it? Because we have all these time cards, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. All of those are editable. I can edit any one of those at once and hit the save button. So you can add many at once. You can edit many at once, many at one time. And I think the whole feature is a whole lot easier to use. Now we're loading 1 week at a time. I can click more entries if I want to and load more. So there's a lot more flexibility with that feature, and it's easier to add a lot of records at one time. All right, I'm going to go back to my home and talk about the flow for a moment. If I use the menu system, which I'm used to, it's probably not as good as using the workflow. It might be easier to follow with the workflow. From the workflow, I'm going to enter a purchase order. So I'll create a PO by clicking that button. And by the way, if it's not obvious, what I could have done is I could have opened a new tab and created the new purchase order from there. Just like what you're used to, we pick a vendor. I'm not going to find the perfect vendor. I'll just grab anybody. And we add items like we're used to. I'll just grab that one. Same process of selecting your expected date. We're entering it on the 7th. I expect it on the 10th. We certainly want to type in a memo and pick a shipping method. Let's see, company delivery. Again, same process that you're used to. Again, you'll notice the drop down here. I mentioned that before. The form, I think, looks a lot cleaner because we're hiding a lot of these fields that you may not need, but you can open those up and pick whatever you need to. Same message box, by the way. We've gone so far as to include the same message boxes, and unless they were just grammatically incorrect, they even say the same thing. So those are all identical, what you're used to already. Pick your department. This could have copied over here automatically if we had the preference for it. Main warehouse. I'll pick that main warehouse. All. And that's that. Now we can save. See if it has any complaints. Save successfully. Well, what I could have shown you, I got too zealous in picking everything. I have several requirements for a PO. And if I had not filled out certain fields that are required, rather than warn me one field at a time, which is what Total Office Manager does, it would have given me a list of fields that are missing. That way, I get one message, you're missing 1, 2, 3, 5 fields, and I could deal with them all at once. When I click save, it rechecks and gives me another list. Currently, you may not think about it because a lot of software did it this way. Currently, it just gives you one message box after another. You hit save, message box, hit save again, another message box. So it warns you only one field at a time, and I think that's very helpful. All right, so the process of creating a PO is pretty much the same process you're used to. Add items. Now you rearrange the items if you want to, and save and close. And that's that. The PO is in. When you are ready to receive the items, then you would go to vendors, and you would go to what? What are you used to already? You go to enter a bill for received items. Nope, we haven't received them yet. So you're going to want to receive those items. Click item receipts. And you could click new here, new item receipt. And then pick that same vendor. Gosh, I think I forgot the vendor. I was talking and forgot the vendor. I think I picked Ream, or no, it was Baker, wasn't it? Yeah, Baker. Hey, it's not easy talking in front of a camera and remembering, what vendor you picked. But it's the same process. You go in there and grab the vendor. The purchase orders that you're used to selecting, they pop up in a list. The list is a little different. The nice thing about this list, though, is it's not what we call modal, meaning when it's up, you can't do anything. This list is not modal, and we've added buttons like add, open, which we didn't have before. So I can click add to add it, click add to add it. Pretty much what you're used to. Same concept is there. We just changed the list for the better. I hope you think it's for the better. It does give you more flexibility in exploring those things. So we have the item receipt, and I can hit the button and try to save it just to see if there's any issues with it. There will be. It'll want reference numbers and things like that because you're going to have required fields, possibly. And save and close. Now, I got an error on that. I actually had 2 errors waiting for us. I forgot about the other one. So the truth is, the error with the employee that we saw earlier, I had them set up that error. I had them put in a bug for me so I can encounter it. And we also had a bug waiting for us in the item receipt, so I could have gone to either one of those. But that again could have easily been a yellow screen. We could have got a yellow screen and close the application, but now we're able to move on. It just complains about one little thing and lets us do the rest of our job. Now from here, as you're used to, the process is the same. You would enter a bill for items received, and then you would eventually pay the bills. The pay bills form does look a bit different. So this right here, you will come into the bills form and say, or the pay bills form and say, okay, this is different. It is a little bit different, but it functions the same way. It presents you with a list of all of your bills. It tells you all the same information that it does now. You have the same filter for your payment account, your discount account, but what's different is the paging. Page 1, page 2, page 3. The pay button is down here at the bottom, the pay date, so you can pay it, pay and close. Pretty similar to what you're already doing in the software, but it just has a slightly different presentation. The paging, by the way, is throughout the program. Most of the time you can pick how many records you want to see per page, 10, 15, 20, 50, something like that. Here, for whatever reason, we don't have it. No reason why we can't put it there. But the paging just allows the program to operate a lot quicker. It still gets to that page quickly, though. It's not like it's loading those records from scratch. They're there waiting on us. But we do save a lot of processing time by presenting them one page at a time. All right, so let's go back home, and I will go to my estimate list here. And I was looking at an estimate earlier. You can see when I opened up the estimates, there's only one. We have the quick filter up here, but as long as I'm in here doing this, you'll notice that the quick filter doesn't have a go button, and the quick filter doesn't ask you to pick what field you're searching on. All the lists work like this. That way, you type in something like 1830, and it instantly filters by 1830. 1830 what? Well, it just looks at everything for 1830. That could get confusing, I suppose, but it found 1830 in an address. It found 1830 in an address. It found 1830 as an estimate number, and then you get the idea. Now, what if we don't like that? What if 1830 returns too many records? Keep in mind, just like in Microsoft Excel, we have the ability to filter by a certain job. So we go to the filter and we type in, well, we have an operator, more operators than what you have now, is equal to, not equal to, starts with, ends with, is null, etc., has no value. You pick what you want to filter on and you enter that value, and then you're filtering just like you would in Excel, and you can filter others as well if you needed to, and then you could do a search even on top of that. So I think the record retrieval searching, it's a lot faster than it used to be, and it's a lot more capable. You still have the paging down here, as we saw earlier. But chances are you're going to use the search feature to quickly find what you're looking for, and the paging won't really make any difference. If I want to rearrange these columns, I can, not a problem. So the AP side, the accounts payable side, functions the same as it does now. Purchase order, item receipt. You enter a bill for the item receipt. You can skip the item receipt, but we don't recommend that. You go to the pay bills form. There we saw slight differences, but the overall functionality is the same. The feature set's the same. Creating an estimate is the same. We saw an invoice earlier. Here's an estimate. There's a group item. You'll notice that you can see the hierarchy a little bit better in a group item than you used to be able to. I think anyway that presentation has improved. All the fields are the same, but we hide things and you reveal them if needed. So once you create an estimate in the old program, you've created an estimate in the new program. There isn't really any difference. If I right-click, I've got the same options available to me. And we have the same summary that many of you like. Save, save and new. By the way, if I hit the cancel button, then it just takes me back to the estimate list. Anytime you open up a record to create a new one, it just takes you back to the list you came from. If I were to hit save and close, it takes me back to the list. So that way you can have a lot of these things open at one time, and it should save you a lot of clicks. A feature that I think people will really like is the search feature. We have an updated version of this that we're working on, which is wider and searches more things, but it allows you to search for any menu that you might want. So you just type in CU and find the customer vendor message list, or the customer's menu, or the escrow movement. That's how easy it is to just find a menu. In Total Office Manager, the menus, I think, are pretty logical, but I'm used to it. The menus right here are pretty vast, as you can see. it looks like this program has a lot more in it, but it doesn't. I think because we've laid it out a little bit easier in here. But I think when you're new to the software especially, and you're not sure where to click, the where to will be very convenient for you. Now, once you've created your estimate, you can easily create an invoice from that estimate. You can create estimates from work orders like you're used to. When you go to receive a payment, let's do that, in fact. Let's go to customer receive payment, and I was debating on whether or not to open an invoice first. Here in the receive payments form, it's very much the same fields, same controls. There's a big difference though, and I alluded to it earlier. Down here, you'll see ePay, which is what we have now, and you will see single payment. When you do a single payment and you're holding somebody's credit card, when you type in that information and the card is processed and you're done with it, that information is not saved in the software, so you don't have any PCI compliance to worry about at that point at all. Nothing is saved. It was a single payment. You don't have any credit card info. When you hit the ePay, it opens the so-called customer credit card profile, payment profile, and you will have different payment methods in there. It could be e-check, could be credit card 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have a lot of capability there. But the ePay button opens up that center and you can manage the payment profile. Right now, you just have one credit card number that you can store in Total Office Manager. It is encrypted, but that credit card information is also kept in the database safely, but it's kept in the database. Here, it is not kept in the database. Whether you use the ePay or the single payment, none of that information is stored in the database. There is no PCI compliancy issues to think about or to test for because that information is gone. Well, if it's gone, then how do we know? Make a long story short, at the risk of oversimplifying, the credit card company gives the software a very unique token. And that token can be thought of as an address to go find the credit card information at the credit card processor. So when we send them that token, we are telling them everything they need to know to process the credit card or to update the credit card or to delete it or to add one. That long token means nothing to us. It means everything to them. If we were to give that token to someone else, it means nothing to someone else. The token is useless to a hacker. So even if they got that token, it would make no difference to them. They couldn't do anything with it. It doesn't contain credit card information. Again, it's almost like a long serial number explaining whose credit card we're after and what we're trying to do with it. So the receipt payments otherwise is the same process that you're used to now. And then once you've received the payment, we would go to banking and we would make our deposits. We can open up the deposits list here. See the same form. Go to the payments form like you're used to. Looks the same. Select what you need to and make your deposit. Same process. So the AR flow is the same with a lot of improvements and positive tweaks along the way. The AP system is the same, again, with a lot of little improvements along the way. Really, one thing that's different about the new program, or at least it's not there yet, I said that this was a functional equivalent. One thing that we don't have currently is the AIA system built out. We didn't do that. So if I were to go looking for the AIA system, then I might find the menu. We don't have it in here, but I might find the menu and I might get a message that says AIA is not finished yet. That's just one of the final things that we are working on, but otherwise it's a functional equivalent. We have people using it. I won't lie to you. The people that have been using it have been just hammering us with not bug reports so much. There are bug reports, but just where is this and why is that? And I'd like a tweak here and a tweak there. So we're doing a pretty good job, I think, of managing the bugs. The major stuff is is far behind us, but we have noticed that there are a lot of little bitty things that people are looking for that we did or didn't. Maybe we did them differently, slightly differently, or we never put it back in there. And we're adding those things as we go. So we're still very much in the testing beta stage, but we're well beyond worrying about whether or not the software can be used. We're really just in the fine-tuning stages. We don't have every report built either, by the way. There are, you might remember, we have a report center. When you go into the report center, go to the menu, there are some reports that are missing. The major reports that people are used to are here, but there's some little reports that haven't made it in the program yet. And we're just doing those last. We just prioritized the important ones. In fact, to my knowledge, no one has said, I'm looking for that report. Where is it? All right. So I think that pretty well gives you an idea of where we're at with the AP and the AR flow of things. Hopefully you've seen the changes or lack of changes in the software. Big point that we've been trying to make with these is that, yes, we're building the software. It is real. It is a functional equivalent. Unlike many companies, we weren't going to make the mistake of rebuilding the software and giving you something that was completely different, functioned differently, and maybe most importantly, was missing a lot of the functionality that you're used to. We've been rebuilding all of the same functionality and trying to improve things as we go, like security, speed, stability, etc. So look for more updates, and your opportunity to acquire the software is coming up. We don't have the ability to just release this to everyone, unlike our updates now, which we roll out pretty quickly. We might give them to a third of our users. We couldn't possibly do that with this program because it will create too many questions, too many calls, and we don't want people being disappointed in our lack of communication. So we'll have to roll it out very slowly, but we are not forgetting about this program, and you will notice that it still receives regular updates. We're still fixing bugs. We're still adding things, still updating payroll, etc. We're not going to ignore the old program, but we're going to be very careful in releasing the new one so that we don't blow it. We don't irritate people any more than we have to, with new programs or new anything. All right. I think that pretty well covers it. Ella, who was the prison guard that walked me out here, she's behind the camera, so I was going to ask her if we have any questions, and we do. Erica. Hi, Erica. Are the filters user only, or can they be assessed globally? Actually, I'm not sure that the globally is in there yet, but it will be. So that question is absolutely perfect. That's a perfect example of where we're at with the program now. We will have someone say, I created this filter, but my coworker can't use it. And then we're like, oh yeah, we haven't gotten to the part where we make it a global option, and then we go at it, So that's pretty well where we're at with things, stuff like that. Christy, hi. Can dashboards be set to global as well? Yes. What we have in mind is the dashboard is going to be made up of a bunch of widgets that we call them, and each little widget can be dragged onto the canvas. And when you're all happy with it, you can hit a save button, and it can be called the sales manager dashboard, the sales assistant, the marketing director dashboard, etc. And people can just use them. So as long as they have permission to get to the dashboard, then the same dashboard can be reused over and over again. And Erica, will barcoding to add items work the same? Yes. Yeah, the entire item alias feature, barcoding, it'll all be the same. The item lookup feature, which we don't have actually, the item lookup feature I consider to be essential. I use it all the time. We're working on that currently, and it is pretty much the same thing. So yeah, barcoding an item alias should be the same as it is now. Will existing filters transfer? No, they won't. Your smart lists will. So if you've created any smart lists, I didn't show that feature in here, but if you're aware of the smart lists in Total Office Manager, those will all come across fine. Keep in mind, we're not migrating the data. When you go from the existing program to the new system, it's the same database. However, it does undergo a bunch of transformation. It gets optimized a lot, but it is the same database. None of your data is lost. The one few example that I can think of, I don't even know if there's more than a couple of things that get lost that won't make its way over. The data's in the database, but we couldn't make it work with the new, is user filters. So in other words, let me just show everybody real quick here. If you come into the estimate list, then you're used to seeing on the left the user filters. Well, they work a little different now. When you come in here and you set your filters and you rearrange columns, even sorting, you add or subtract columns, everything you do to the list can be saved with a name, and that's the new user filter. We weren't able to transfer that because it's a lot better. We weren't able to transfer those to from the old system to the new one. Next question, Sandy. Right now, while in the purchase order, I can upload the vendor bill so it stays attached to that PO. Will I still be able to go to the PO and access the vendor bill? Yes. Yeah. The document management system, I failed to talk about that. The document management system, or document links as we call it, has been completely transformed. It works much better, I mean, in my opinion, but it's all based on user feedback. We've redone it completely. It works more like a file management system, like File Explorer. You'll see it's way better. It's more intuitive and it's easier to manage. But the short answer is yes, you'll still be able to do that. The document manager, the document links has been transformed, but it still is part of the program. And Mike, can you comment on the API functionality of 360? Will there be an API key that we can share with other providers like CallCap, Rilla, etc.? Yes. By the way, we are rebuilding our CallCap capability, the caller ID. I even hope to release that as an opportunity for those of you who have the existing software, Total Ops Manager. So in other words, if you're using the old program, you can incorporate caller ID, CallCap functionality. But in addition to that, with the new system, the API will cover that. You will get keys. It works like APIs that I think many of you are familiar with. If you're familiar with APIs, you'll get keys. You can use the API yourself. Others can use the API. So yeah, it's end-to-end. I think you've heard this before. Our API is really thorough because we took an API programming approach. In other words, when we built the software, when we build it still, we have to build the API stuff, if you will, layman's terms, but we have to use the API first. Then we create the screen or the form. So like if we want to add AIA billing, then we have to do the API stuff for AIA billing first. Only then, when all the logic is done, then we add the form, and the form is really lightweight. All the logic is in the API. The form itself does almost nothing but give you a user interface. So that means the API has all the secrets of the sauce. I mean, it has access to everything in the program. Sandy, can I still create an item receipt directly from the PO like I can now? You will be able to if you can't now. I don't remember. I haven't done it. Let's go to the PO list. And I got my chat up. Let's go to PO list and just see. Thought I had it up already. Well, Who knows? Let's just open it again. And I'm only taking the time to go look because I don't remember if it was there yet. Receive items. Yeah. Okay. Yep. It's there. The answer could have been, no, it's not there, but it's definitely coming. Those are the kinds of shortcuts we did not take. I promise. If we did, it was just, we didn't know, or like we just neglected to do it for some reason, but it wasn't intentional. Those are the little things that would really drive people nuts if we leave them out of the software. So we're being careful to put everything back. Some features, when you click on them currently, they'll say that's coming soon, but we wanted to stub it out, make sure we didn't forget about it. But that's there, and little things like that we'll definitely be addressing. Will this work with POS and swiping credit cards for counter sales? Yes, but that may need to come a little bit later, because rather than rebuild what we have, which we may do just to get by, just to make it simple, but we're really hoping to rebuild the POS. That's our plan. And that's on our roadmap, by the way. If you look at our roadmap on the website, that's our plan, is to go redo the entire POS so that it functions more like a POS. You know what? I forgot to mention one really neat thing about our system, the new system. So I talked to you about no more yellow screens. I talked about handling the errors better. I showed you how the software can be updated right in the middle of using it. And that wasn't faked or anything. That was truly how it worked. It was updated while I was using it. The error was faked. We created the bug. That was faked. It was a real bug, but I mean, we created it. But the update you saw was not faked. It was a real update. It happened while I was using the program. You saw me unplug my network wire. That's real. That was real. And you saw the program didn't care that we were disconnected. It just went on about its business. If it had been processing something, those processes would have continued because they're all happening off-site. Nothing's happening in the browser. So I disconnect that wire. Payroll would still keep running. I could close the browser, reboot the computer. Payroll is going to be running. But what I forgot to show you is the health check. So people call up and say, for example, is the program running? Is everything okay with the program, mobile, whatever? Is it us or is it you? And what we did is we built the ability for you to go in and see what's going on. So here we're looking at all the major systems in the software. The API job service is currently down. I think there's a problem. It says health, right? So let's click this. And it says unhealthy, tenant service is unhealthy. Well, you're thinking, what are you going to do about that? Going to get that fixed? Well, it's normal because we're working on it. You know, it wouldn't be a good thing if all of you are trying to connect with the API, but we're in the middle of working on all this. So that doesn't surprise me. The job services API, same related system anyway. You can click on that and see what's wrong with it. And the other systems, though, we're all working. So we have our file services, the Total Office Manager core. We have the identity server. We have scheduling, payroll, etc. Those systems are all working fine. It pulls every 60 seconds currently, and that allows me to keep tabs on what's going on. Now, if I want to see the details of everything, I just click this little button right up here, and then I can see details of every service and what's going on with the entire system. And this is real, by the way. This is accessed by the public. None of this information is filtered or cleaned up or made to look better. Anytime you want to know what's going on with the entire system, you can come in here and see the health of the system just like that. So that was what I forgot. I had a little cheat sheet here to try not to forget anything, but I forgot to show you that one. All right, I think that wraps it up. I was going to say Ella, final questions, but she beat me to it. Will there eventually be a mobile app for 360? Can you talk about a use case where field techs may use 360 in lieu of Aptora Mobile 2? Good question, Mike. So the current Mobile 2 app, we call it Aptora Mobile 2. Do you know why, by the way? That'd be a good trivia question. This is the truth, unfiltered truth. Because Aptora Mobile 1 was so bad, I wanted to call the second one Aptora Mobile 2. Now, not too many owners are that honest about things, and I try to be as honest as I possibly can. Yeah, the first one was such a disappointment. It was the first time in my life I ever farmed out programming. First time we ever farmed out programming. We paid a company a ton of money, fixed price. They delivered a piece of junk, and I finally just gave up on dealing with them when we rewrote it from scratch, and we called it Aptora Mobile 2, and I insisted on calling it Mobile 2 so we never forgot the lessons learned creating Mobile 1. Now, that was a lot of years ago. Anyway, that program currently works with this system, so you will not have any changes to your app other than regular updates. You know, we're updating it. We've been updating it recently. We have a good, better, best coming out. Some of you have seen a preview of it already, but we're working on the app, making it better. It will completely work with this system. Why? Because, as a reminder, it's the same database. It goes through a bunch of improvements, but it's the same database. We're not migrating one database to another. It's the same database, which tells you a lot about how the programs are the same. One's just completely modern and the other isn't. So that app will work completely fine, and we'll keep improving it. Now, what about using the entire system? Well, it's web-based, so a technician could use the entire system if they wanted to. Is this touch? No, not touch. My screen, I've got two. This isn't a touch screen. If this were a touch screen, I could be touching these things and doing everything with my finger as much as possible, or a stylus. So I could use Aptora 360 in the field if I wanted to. It may be that it's just a little bit much for the technician, a lot more features than you need. Moving forward, though, what we're going to be doing is creating the ability to configure 360, Aptora 360, so that it is, shall I say, missing a lot of features, components, capability. You can hide those things from the technician, or from anyone for that matter, to make the interface easier to use. So in the future, we plan to make it way more tech-friendly so that someday you might decide it would be better to just give up on the app and just let them use this entire application. Now, we did build this application to work nicely on different screen sizes. So it has been, from the very beginning, built to be presented nicely on different size screens, mobile screens, a phone, maybe not so much, but a tablet, certainly. Big screens, small monitors, you name it, tablets. It's been, from the very beginning, built to accommodate different screen sizes. So hopefully I answered that question. Any other questions, Ella? Nope. Okay. All right. So just to wrap it up, where are we at with it? People are always asking, when can I get it? People have it. We're really busy with the ones who are using it now. And as we feel more comfortable putting it out, we give it out. We're giving it out more and more. And at some point, we'll pick up the pace so that most of you get what you're looking for. But we just don't want to screw this up, folks. We really don't. I saw the lessons to be learned by other people. I won't name their names, that rebuilt older programs. They took their desktop and rewrote it for the internet, etc. I saw a lot of mistakes made. I don't want to repeat those mistakes, so we're just being careful. We're being as careful as we can. But I just want to assure you, we're not taking shortcuts on functionality, and we're not taking shortcuts on quality programming either. I've got awesome programmers that have very high standards. Sometimes they don't work as fast as I'd like, but they work better than anybody could ever hope for. And I feel really good about what we built. I just don't want to screw it up. So it may take a little time before you get it, but when you get it, at least we'll be assured that we've done everything we can to make the situation as great as it can possibly be. All right. I want to thank Ella for walking me to my jail cell today. Hope you thought that was kind of funny. I didn't tell you what the number is right here. Oh, right here. That's September 1st, 2004. September 1st, 2004 is when we sold our first Total Office Manager all those years ago. That's how old the program is. It's old, but it's beautiful. That was the first program we sold. I got the check framed, sitting on behind my desk. If you've ever been online with me, it's right behind me. You'll see the first flat rate plus ever sold, the first total office manager ever sold. That's the date. That was my prisoner number. All right. So I've explained all that, I guess. Well, that wraps it up, Ella. Thanks for your help making the jail cell. It was really cool. I really liked the bars. I wasn't expecting the bars to open and close. That was neat. All right. Thanks, everybody. We really appreciate you being out there and attending these webinars. And, you make it all possible. Customers like you, please keep giving us your feedback. And we appreciate serving you. Until next time, thank you and good night. Locked up again. Let me out. Let me out.